I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to do the start on this. Is a 2019, I think 20, maybe 20 FVX. Typically you tell it's the older style before they come out. The new style has this little area here. This is the older version of it. Basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna get ready to mount these pods up, okay? And the way the pods fit, you can put them up a little bit higher if you wanted to, if you need more foot room, okay? Listen, there's no right or wrong. If I put it up this high, I'm gonna have a small little gap right here. For some people, that's okay. Like, I'm actually fine with that gap because I am tall and I would rather have the foot room, but these are not as tall, so we can move it down. This is actually where the factory pod sits, is right here. We actually designed these off the factory pod. So you notice it falls into place, very little gap all the way around. It looks great and it sits there. That's where it wants to sit. This was designed off the factory location. Again, there's no right or wrong way. You can move them up a little bit, right? I got a little bit of a gap, but I have more footwell, or I can pull them down a little bit and they're gonna sit like the factory, okay? So we're gonna kind of split the difference, and I'm gonna put her right there. Very little gap, barely keep my finger in there, okay? So first thing we're gonna do is gonna put our blue tape down. This is gonna mark where the bottom of our pod's gonna sit, and then I'm gonna put some blue tape underneath here, and we're gonna drill some holes. Now on the VX model, you will be able to get behind here and bolt it down in the two rear ones. There's like a dead area. I'm gonna show you when I pull this panel off. There is a small area behind there where it kind of like has an opening, so it's not a double hole. Right around this area here, sometimes in these skis it goes like this. It's another part of the hole that comes forward, so sometimes you can't get that front bolt, but that's okay, because as long as we get these two bottom bolts and we get that one side bolt, we'll be perfectly fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my drill. I'm gonna mark my area, and I'm gonna start drilling a small hole to get our bolts and our nuts through. And I'm just gonna mark it like this. What I do is I draw it like this. Oops, hold on. Sorry, I draw a little thing like this with my Sharpie. Okay, pull my thing off, and now I know where my holes go. Typically what I like to do is I like to drill it right in the middle of those two holes. The reason why is that way I still have a little bit of adjustment up or down if I need it to be, because when you put both sides on, sometimes it's off. Also remember, you can try to measure, these are your measuring points, but they're pretty good about putting these on point, but you can figure other points like this little line right here, or even this line right here, because that's on the fiberglass. There's a little indentation right there. You can measure from here to here to make sure you have a good measurement. That's typically what I do, so that way you can make sure they're both on the same side. So I'm going to get my drill bit. We'll drill that hole. We'll move to the next part of the video. Okay, so I've drilled my two holes. Typically I like to drill kind of down at an angle like this so the bolts go in. We're gonna have some washers on the inside. You can drill at this angle here, it doesn't matter. I know it seems weird over here. You're gonna kind of get close to the side, but you'll be fine. And then we're gonna pull these off, and that's gonna be our first two holes, and we're gonna bolt it up from the inside. So there we go. Blow off the fiberglass. Nobody likes fiberglass, and those will be our two holes that we're gonna deal with. So this one is drilled out, but we're gonna, like I said, pull a little bit of that fiberglass up in there, and we'll show you here. Clean out the hole. We're good to go. Clean out the hole. And we're good to go. All right. I use a 1/4 inch drill bit. It's the same size as an M6 bolt, which is what we're going to send you guys. Okay. So that's going to be kind of what we're looking at. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this front area out right here. Just use some push tabs. And this can be used on any of the GPs and the VXs. Typically I found that these two bottom holes are going to be able to be bolted. It's usually the top hole that's going to be a problem, but we use that top hole on another version, so don't worry about that. So most of the GP and the VXs will not need a thread cert. The FXs will sometimes need thread certs, but that's going to be what we're going to start with. So let's go ahead and get ready to pull this thing out and bolt this first speaker down. We're going to put one more hole on the side here, and then that'll be the installing of the pods, and then we'll move forward from that. Now that we have our front cover off, I'm gonna go back to the back of the ski, and I'm gonna show you what we're gonna use to mount it down. So in your package, you're gonna have some nuts and washers. I separated them left and right. So this is gonna be our side bolt. We're gonna put that in. But right now we're gonna mounting these bottom two. You can use the ones that don't have threads going all the way up. You're gonna use a large washer, 2 small washers, and 2 nuts. I typically like to use some blue Loctite to put the nuts on. We used to use locking nuts, but I found it to be a little bit faster to put these on, because those lock nuts you can barely spin on. So this way we can kind of spin them all the way up and just tighten them down real simple. Also an Allen key to hold the bolt, 10mm wrench or socket. And these are supposed to be snug, guys. We're not trying to pull these washers through the plastic. There's a small gap, about that much, sorry, between your pod and the ski. So we're gonna go over there, we're gonna drop these in, we're gonna tighten them up and show you how it's done. Okay, so we're gonna take our bolt that looks like this, we're gonna take our big washer that looks like this, we're gonna put them through. Sorry, I do all this with one hand, you guys know how this is. Hold on. So put it through there, okay? And what we're gonna do is make sure our holes are lined up in there, right? We drilled the holes, everything looks good to me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna drop it through, push it through the hole, okay? On the hole, push it through. Boom, we got one in. Now we'll do the other one. This does help if you have two people, somebody to hold the Allen key while you're tightening down the nut on the back side. But this is, I've done this quite a few times, so I kind of am able to work it myself. But anyway, so I'm gonna put this in here like this. All right, so now we're locked into place. Put them in the center. We have everything looks good here, okay? Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a washer. The washer is gonna go on the back side and then the nut. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my washers, blah, 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 and I'm gonna drop a couple drops of blue Loctite inside my nut, and then I'm gonna slowly put it on with my hand, and then we'll reach over and try to tighten these down snugly. We're not trying to crush these things, we want them snug. Also, if you notice, I haven't taken anything off here yet. This is gonna be typical even with the newer GPs, because you wanna make sure that the pod fits with the plastics on. And also we have a small little gap right here, so everything's good. So we can still spin our pod, everything looks nice, so we're good to go. All right, so let me get these washers and nuts put on the backside, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so we're gonna send you like a little 3M tape. This is gonna be so we can seal the washer up. So what I like to do is I stick this on the washer, peel the sticker off, and that way when the inside, we can just push it up, and it's gonna stick to your hole. It's gonna hold that washer in place so you don't have to fight it the whole time. It also helps to seal it all up. So we're gonna put that on there first, and then we're gonna put it inside the ski. Also, a quick tip tool. It's easier to put this bolt in first and tighten it. That way this bolt's not in your way when you're trying to get to the washer. So just think about that. When you put them in, pull this one out real quick, drop this one in, get it started loosely, and then get that one started. It'll be a lot easier. I've got long arms. You can get to it. You will be able to reach it. You might have to crawl in from the other side, but you can get to it. It's easier if you have somebody to hold it while you're trying to do it, because if not, it keeps trying to pop up. Okay, so tech tip. To get to these bolts, it's best to just kind of like, you can unhook this down at the bottom, take those little tabs out at the bottom, okay, like I did there, pull them all out, and what you do is you pull the plastic forward, and it'll kind of get up out of the way a little bit, and you can pull it to where you can get your hand behind this side over here, okay, and what I did, you want to be able to get your hand on the inside of this over here, and that'll get you a lot more room. Let me see if I can pull it up. I gotta sit a minute ago. Hold on. Sorry. They made this where you can't really yank this thing out. It's pretty much a bitch to get out. And remember, there is something zip tied right there. So I was able to just pull it out a little bit. Hold on. Take this side and just kind of push it down a little bit, like that. I know it looks kind of crazy. It's not gonna hurt anything. You push it down, okay? That way you can get your hand inside that area right there where those bolts are at. Because if you try to reach through this, you just don't have long enough arms. If you push it down like I did here, just kind of push it down and out of the way, you'll be fine. And then all you have to do, bring it back up, just pop it, pull it back up, and it goes back in place. So just take this side, push it down, make sure you don't push on your wires too much, okay? Just kind of get it out of the way, just like that, so you can get your hand in there. It'll be a lot easier. And that's my tech tip for the day. Enjoy. There you go, got it down pretty far there. You're not gonna be able to take this thing out. They made it very hard. It's almost like you have to fold it. But anyway, that should help you out to get to this far side bolt. I got long arms. I couldn't do it until I got that out. Okay, so we got these two bolts tight. It's easier if you have two people. I will tell you that. So that way you can kind of reach in there and grab this back one's a little tough to get to, especially because I'm working on a double trailer, so I can't get to the other side of the ski. So I just use a step stool. Also, this trailer is sitting extremely high. So this helps, so I can reach my arm in there, and it's usually easier if you can grab a wrench and get it on that nut and have somebody turn it from up top. That'll be a lot easier for you guys. Remember, these are tight, but they're not like super tight. They're not breaking the plastic. They're just, I mean, it's snug. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna drill a hole right here down at an angle. We're actually gonna drill two holes, one for our speaker wire and one for our side bolt. Now, I use a tool that looks like this. That makes my life a lot easier. I put my drill bit in and I just drill it down at an angle. Now, if you don't have a tool like this, you can still do it. You're gonna have to drill it from the inside. And I'll show you how to do that. My wife is yelling at the dog. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so if you have it, if you don't have it, you're gonna have to do it from the inside. typically you're kind of trying to find this curve. Sorry, you don't want to go sideways, okay? This is not right. This is not right. We need to go down at an angle like this. So we want to get inside this curve right here. It's a lot harder if you don't have this tool, but it is doable, and I'll show you. So what we're going to do is we're going to get up in there. We can see the angle of the bolt. Sorry, I'm going to set the camera here. And again, we're going to push this down. We want to kind of go along that bottom ridge right there. We want to kind of go upwards into the pod, okay? So we know where we drilled our other 2 holes. So let's see if we can get it real quick. So we can drill. Sorry guys, I'm trying to do this all by myself. I know the camera's kind of shaky. I apologize about that, but I'm just one-man show, guys. I'm one-man show. Okay. All right. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Yeah, nowadays. All right. So okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do our side screw. There's a little curve down in here. That's kind of what we're going to, because that's going to be the closest to the bottom of the ski. We want to try to go down at an angle. We're not going down. We need to kind of come outside so it kind of pulls our pod to the ski. We're going to drill 2 holes, and the other hole is going to be for our speaker wire. Now, I do have a tool like this. You can buy them from Harbor Freight. It's Milwaukee. I love these things. If you don't have one, it's well worth the 20 bucks. And this will allow me to go in side of here and go at a perfect angle. Now, if you don't have that and you have to make do with a drill like this, we can still do it. But remember, we're kind of going in an angle this way. So I definitely suggest the tool, but we're going to make it with this one since you probably don't have the tool. And we're going to make this hole kind of down at an angle. You can kind of see how I'm going at an angle, and we're going to see what happens. So the problem is this is going to put the angle going that way. So when you put the bolt in, it's going to do the same thing. So let's go ahead and slowly start drilling it. It's going to try to walk on you. So you gotta put some pressure on it. I'm going to put some pressure on it so it doesn't walk on me. And then I'll be right back. And whoops, sorry. Okay, so now that we got our 2 screws down here, we're going to do our angle bolt, which is going to go down at an angle. Okay, now I have a tool that makes life a lot easier. I love this tool. It's a Milwaukee tool. I don't get sponsored by them. This is just an incredible tool. It allows me to drill in very small areas, and I can just drill in at a perfect angle. And then I buy the drill bits that have the attachments that go like that. Okay, it's pretty cheap, right? Ryobi sells them. Now, if you don't have that and you're just using a drill, we can make this work. I don't suggest this, but you can make it work. It will work. The problem is the angle is going to go down backwards, which is fine, but your bolt's not going to sit completely flush. The only way we can make that bolt sit completely flush is if we drill the hole a little bit bigger, but I'm actually going to drill this small hole just to show you that it can be done. But I definitely suggest the other little tool. Remember, we need to drill 2 holes, front and back, so that way we can that way we can actually get our speaker wire through as well. You could run your speaker wire down through one of these holes here, but I just like to come into the side because I do use that side angle drill bit, or I love these things. They sell them at Harbor Freight too. Just makes your life a lot easier to get into these little crevices. So you don't need it. We can use this. I'll drill one on this side and I'll show you what it looks like on the other one. Okay, we've got our hole. You can actually see it's at a slight angle right there, so that bolt's going to go through there, and that's going to allow us to kind of pull this pod in so it doesn't move around. If you have just these, they might move around, so we need to make sure this hole is about 1/4 inch. You want that bolt to fit through there nice and tightly. Now, I'm going to use my other bit, and I'm going to drill in going down to get my speaker wire through, and I'm going to go a little bit further back. Again, you don't have to do that. You can actually run your speaker wire through here. You can actually drill another hole right here straight down, just pull your speaker wire through, fill in the hole with some Flex Seal. So either way, doesn't really matter. Actually, what I'm going to do to make it easier for you guys, I'm going to drill a hole right here for the speaker wire to come through, and that way we don't have to worry about this side hole. But you can get it with a regular drill. So I'm going to go ahead and drill a small hole right here to put our speaker wire through. All right, we got our hole for our speaker wire. I'm going to pull our speaker wire through this hole, and I'm going to put a bolt through that hole. This is where we're going to use our fully threaded bolt. We're going to put a washer on like this. We're going to slide it through the hole we built, put a washer and a nut on the backside. Same thing, a little blue Loctite. All right, let's get that ready. All right, so now we've got our bolt in there. You can see the washer, how it's kind of like concaved. You do not want to pull this bolt through the pod. You want it to be snug. You'll feel it when it's snug, guys. If you have a ratchet, be very careful. The blue Loctite's going to keep these bolts from moving, guys. So we're just trying to hold everything in place. We're not trying to crush this. We're not trying to crack it. Use a hand, use a real light, just snug it. I promise you it's going to be tight enough. These blue Loctite will not let these nuts come through. And this is already completely sturdy. This is just going to keep us from moving back and forth if we hit some waves and stuff like that. All right. Okay, that's tightened down. Remember, it's not super tight. See, there's a gap between there, so we got to be careful. If your hand, you could tighten this thing down. It's going to pull through and break the plastic. This is just it's putting some pressure on here, and it's hand tight. Remember, this is not going to loosen up. It's going to be nice and tight. Everything's strong. I mean, we're down, man. We're good. Do not try to pull these washers through the plastic. Okay, so you've got some speaker wire. When you unroll it, it's going to be about 10 to 11 feet. You don't want to cut this in half because the amplifier is going to be on one side of the ski. On this one, because we're on a double trailer, I'm going to put the amplifier on the right-hand side so I can access it a lot easier. There's no right or wrong way, left or right, whichever one you feel comfortable with. I will say right is typically going to be easier to run your power wire all the way down because it comes straight down the back. If you put it on the left, you just have to come across and then go down to rubber grommet, which we'll show you in a little bit. The wire should be enough. You shouldn't have any problems. I have a double trailer. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of working on double trailers. It kind of stinks, but got to do what you got to do. Okay, so what we're going to do is we want to basically, we don't want to cut this wire yet. What we want to do is pull it through the pod, leave about 6 inches outside the pod, and then we'll run it up to the amp, and then we'll cut it at the amp, and that'll let us do the other side. It's going to be a shorter run on the right side than going all the way across to the left side. You will have enough wire. Okay, so I leave it with the wire a little bit out. I may pull it in just a little bit more, like around there. I don't want to fight these wires when I'm trying to put it on the speaker. So if you have it like this short, you're going to be fighting it. It's okay if I have a little speaker wire inside the pod, guys. You're gonna have enough, okay? All right, let's pull it in a little bit more. There we go. That way I can attach the speaker. I can fold it down in there. This is what they call a service wire, a service loop. So basically, if we ever have to cut this wire, we still have more left in there. We're gonna seal all this up with some Flex Seal or the stuff we use that we're gonna send you. But now this one's pretty much done. All the wires pulled through to the front up here, and then we're gonna pull it through behind here. So now to remove this panel, if you have a GP or VX, you're gonna remove this bolt, and this bolt first. These two bolts are going to pull this off, and I'll show you what it looks like. And then we have a 10mm bolt back here, and I think we have another 10mm bolt somewhere. Also, there's a nut on the back side of here, okay? Don't worry about this one. So there's a nut here. This one does not have a nut, so let's get these things pulled off. You're going to need a 10mm and an Allen set, and then that's it. So I'm going to go grab my Allen set. We're going to knock this thing out. Okay, so once you get these two bolts out, also there's a nut behind there. You're going to grab this, and pull it down like this. That comes out of the way. There's a little push button right here. You're gonna push this, pull that out, boom, 10mm bolt. Let's get that off. We'll keep it moving forward. Okay, once you get that piece off, you're gonna grab this piece. You're gonna put your hand up under there. You're gonna pull it. It kind of goes in a little angle like this. Okay, just grab it, pull it, wiggle it. It'll come out. Sometimes get a little stuck. They go in at like a little angle. You can see that little tab kind of goes in and up. Snaps in between here. That little hole there and that there, but it will come off. Don't break it, stick your time. And we got another 10mm. Okay, once you got that bolt out and all this off, the panel just slides back. So just grab it from up front here, push it back, it slides back, and it'll come off. See the little tabs, so you can know it slides back. Pull it out, and boom, we got all the access in the world, okay? So now this is gonna be where we're gonna run all of our wires through. So I'm gonna run my power wire through there, I'm gonna run all my speaker wires through there, so I usually just pull this little grommet up here. What I do to make this life a lot easier, what I found to be easier, is just take this whole grommet and just pull it up like this. Let me, hard to do with one hand, guys, sorry. There we go, take this whole grommet. That way I can just fish the wires through with my finger and then put them all down. It's gonna be a lot easier because it gets kind of tight down in there. Putting it back is pretty easy. And that's gonna be how you do that. So also, on this particular ski, we don't have a place to mount our amp sideways like this. So we're gonna mount it right here with a couple screws. It'll fit, and there's going to be a small gap in between here, but that's not going to be a big deal. We'll show you how that looks when we get ready to set it. Now remember, on the other ski, I'm going to put the amp on the opposite side. I'm going to run the wires through here, and I'm going to drop them down here. Same concept. Just easier because it's on a double trailer, and to be honest with you, it's a nightmare to try to pull these things off. Doing the other pods on the other side are going to stink already, so we're going to kind of do it like that and move from there. So I've got this panel off. What I'm going to do is I wanted to show you guys how to do the pod. I usually do the pods first, but on the, oh my god, I'm so sorry about that. On the pods, I'll probably mount both pods, and then I'll probably put the amp here. But since I'm just using one half of the ski, we can move this video going along. You don't need me to see to mount the other pod. You guys know how to do that now. So we're gonna go ahead and get all of our wire pulled up through here. We're gonna set our amp here. We're not gonna mount it yet. We're gonna set it here, and then we're gonna do the other side, and then I'll pause that out of the video and I'll show you what we're gonna do with the amp. So stay tuned. Almost there, guys. Okay, so when we end up mounting our amplifier, there is going to be an angle, right? So we're going to push it up in here. We're going to mount it just like this, okay? We're going to put a screw here to hold it and a screw there to hold it. Again, guys, this is where this tool comes in handy. You can do it without it. You could try to get in there, but it's easier if you just grab this tool. It's 20 bucks, guys. I promise you. I use this thing every time I do a job. Not only on this, but everything. It's just a really badass tool. So, again, we're going to put it in here like this. We're going to put a couple bolts in there, and that's how we're going to mount that when we're done. But for right now, this is our home plate. And now we got to run all of our wires to home plate. Okay? If you guys want to get creative and try to make an L bracket here and drew it down and bolt it up, I'm all for that. That's not what we're going to do. That is totally possible to do. So, again, I'm not going to do that, but a nice little L bracket would probably work here. You can get it to both sides, but for me, I'm just doing everything on one side. There's no right or wrong way, guys. This is just how I do it. So, I mean, like I said, you could definitely put a little L bracket right here to go up here, put a bolt here and nut it down and screw it down. That'll work as well. Again, no right or wrong way, guys. No right or wrong way, guys. We just want to make sure these things are mounted down nice, okay? All right, so now these are our power wires. Okay, we're going to start running our power wire to the back. We're going to go through this grommet. I've already removed the zip tie. And like I said, it's pretty tight in there, guys. So you can see I get through it a lot easier with my finger now. Okay, I'm going to run the power wire. I'm going to pull the speaker wire up here. I'm going to kind of get that trimmed up. And then we're going to run the power wire down the side of the ski, all the way along this edge, back to our battery. So, and again, I zip tie it up. I drill small little holes right here. Sorry, right here. I drill like little bitty holes and I zip tie it up. Now, it is possible to run it along that cable down there. I don't do that. That's like a steering cable for your steering nozzle. I'm not a big fan of that, so I'm just going to zip tie some little holes. You can also try to get creative with it, guys. Some people have tried to use those little 3M zip tie sticky things. Not a big fan. They don't work for me. They could work for you. So that's just what I do, and I'll show you what it looks like. It looks pretty clean when we're done. Okay, so we're going to get running wire, and I'll show you what it looks like on the next step. Hold on. Okay, so we're going to get ready to mount our fuse. On this particular ski, we don't have this computer right here. On the newer GP and the VX, on the other engine, not the TR1, they have a computer that goes right here, and there's a big thing that goes across there. Gives us plenty of places to mount our little fuse. Okay, our fuse, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some double-sided Velcro on the back of it here, and I'm going to stick it up against this wall right in this area. So what you want to do is just hit it with a little bit of alcohol and get it stuck up there, and then we'll run that power wire down to that battery. Pretty simple. Okay, so I've gone ahead and installed my little switch. I just did Velcro on the side. I cleaned everything with alcohol, make sure it's a good clean area, get all the oil off, and then we'll put our end on the tip. That's going to go to the positive. And then the negative is just going to run straight to the negative. On the GP, the newer ones, there's going to be a computer in this area right here. And I'll actually show you what one looks like real quick so you can kind of see it. So we'll show you where we mount our other one. Now I have a lot more going on back here because I do have the second battery upgrade. But what we do on the other one, we actually mount it to this tab right there on either side. Okay, I do have a isolator in the way, so you can see where I had the hole there. That's where I zip tied or screwed down the actual old one that I had. I do have a lot more going on here, so please dismiss this. I have like 2 amps and a subwoofer and a bunch of other stuff going on. So anyway, so you're gonna mount it right here if you have other GP or a VX that uses the 4-stroke. Okay, so now we got a little bag of, you can have the blue and the red, and we already had the yellow, so I'm gonna show you what I did with that. But now we're gonna get ready to mount our button. If you have the factory, if you didn't use our factory button, which is the 2021, the 21, it has a little square. This doesn't have a square, so we're gonna have to use just a regular, our other button. So what we're gonna do, we use a tool like this from Harbor Freight. Basically is awesome. And what I used to do is I just match the bolt up with where it hits the hole, right? So that's how big we're gonna go. Typically, we go to the second one right here. I think this one's actually marked probably, nope, it used to be marked with white. So just, drill it a couple times until, slowly go with it and make sure you find the hole. I think it's a 1-inch hole. Let me see here if I can read it. I can't read it right now, but you want this to kind of go match up with the bolt you're trying to do. And see that one where it kind of sticks on? That's going to be the one we're going to go to, and that should allow this to fit through. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that, and then go from there. Okay, so we're going to build this real quick. So it's pretty simple. Once you get everything stripped down, you have this little rubber piece right here. It's got these two little grooves. Okay, I'll slide it up. Slide down your little thing right there. Okay, we've already got our hole drilled. We use that drill bit I showed you. I'll show you what the hole looks like. Okay, everything fits down in there. Then what you do is take this, line these little grooves up. This is your little waterproof seal, what they call it. Pull it up there. Okay, and then what you're going to do is pull that up, get it all in place. You can see those little grooves. There we go, drops right in. Okay, then you're going to use this on the back side. So you're going to slide into the hole, put this on the back side. It's going to go up, and then what this is going to do is allow it to give us a nice seal, nice little rubber, kind of puts a little tension on that nut too. So what we're going to do is I'll show you. So we've got the hole drilled already. Okay, put this through. We're going to put this on the back side and use our nut to lock it in place. You want the arrow pointing forward. The arrow will be pointing forward. As for this red wire, I'm going to crimp it off. I'm going to cut it, tape it up. We're not going to use it, so you're not using this red wire at all, okay? And you're going to plug your controller into your amplifier by using this wire if you're using one of our buttons. You want to make sure that you line up the arrows. There's a little arrow on there. Whoops, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's fine. You got to make sure you line up the arrows. You'll see little arrows on there if you look hard enough. There's one arrow right there, okay? All right, we're getting real close to be able to set up the amplifier. Once we get power to the amp, power to in the remote in, we can go ahead and set up the amplifier. We do not hook the speakers up while we're adjusting the amp. We're going to do that separately. I typically throw a little bit of electrical tape on there so that way it doesn't come off. You can also heat shrink it if you want to. And again, we're going to get ready to access this panel and access the speaker wires. We're going to be testing or adjusting so we can make this work with our voltage meter. Okay, so now we're going to get ready to adjust the amplifier. We don't have our speaker wires hooked up. We're not done there yet, okay? The first thing you want to do, if you're looking at the amplifier and you look at the top of the amplifier, there's 4 wires on the top. There's a gray wire, a white wire, and a purple wire. Okay, I'm going to grab all those in the top 4 row, top on the 4. See how it's on the top? Okay, I'm going to pull those up. I'm going to pull those out of the way. We're not using those wires. Those wires will be taped up, and we'll use those later. Not use those at all, actually. Okay, so now we want the bottom 4 rows. See how there's a bottom 4 row? Okay, so your white and gray is going to be your left side over there, and the purple and green is going to be the right side. We're bridging this. So don't worry about where it says front right, front left. Okay, what you need to look at is bridge negative, bridge positive. Okay, I've already told you the white and gray is your left. Okay, and the purple and green is your right. Okay, and it's going to be the same thing. Don't worry about, this will actually say subwoofer, which is fine. That'll be a little easier to find, positive and negative, but don't worry about the rear right, rear left, okay, because we're bridging this. So as long as you have bridge positive and bridged negative, you're going to be good to go, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to get our voltmeter, we're going to plug it in, and we're going to show you how to adjust voltage. Okay, so now that we've adjusted our voltage, we're not going to touch anything just yet. We're going to leave everything the way it is. We're going to continue to put our ski back together, all except for this piece. We're going to put our speakers in. Now, once you put your speakers in, then we can go in adjusting the frequency, okay? The frequency on these skis will typically be anywhere between, let's see here if I can show you. Get in there real good. Okay, so here's 0. We almost wanted 180 degrees. So we're going to turn it up like this. You're going to be anywhere between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. So somewhere between these areas right here, that's where you're going to be. Listen to what sounds the clearest. Also, we're going to put on the high pass filter by turning these all the way to the left. You're going to move it, put in there, and move it all the way to the left. Okay, all the way to the left. And you're good to go. Remember, this is already 180 degrees, so just, I can see how much I turned it, look. So you need to turn it up to about 1 o'clock, start there, and slowly move it between that 1, sorry, I know it's hard to say, slowly move it between that 1 and 3 o'clock. That's going to be your best bet to give you the best quality sound, between 1 and 3, okay?
Go.
Okay, so we're going to get ready to adjust the amplifier. We're going to use the 4 speaker wires that we talked about earlier. The left speaker is going to use the gray and the white, and the right speaker is going to use the purple and the green. Remember, you're going to use the one that says bridge positive, that's where the red terminal is going to go, and bridge negative, that's where the negative terminal is going to go. It's going to be the same way with the speaker wires. I have a little charger back here that's able to keep the charge up to 14 volts. If you don't have something like that, try to throw it on your trickle charger and make sure your battery is at least 12.6, 12.7 volts before we do anything. Your amplifier is not going to really do properly. You can also start the ski and adjust it. Remember, this test tone is only going to be 60 seconds. You should have already downloaded the test tone from the Kicker website that we sent you. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get ready to adjust it. Make sure you're connected to the BTR2, which is going to be your control Bluetooth. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get ready to adjust this particular setup here with our multimeter, but I'm going to show you how to do it with the AC voltage as well. So our left speaker is going to be this one here. This is our left speaker, and you'll see how little I turn it up to get voltage. Okay, I'm going to show you. All right, and then I'm going to look down here and she'll show you how much voltage is actually coming through in a clean sine wave. So I'm going to go ahead, play my 60 hertz test tone right here. I'm going to hit play. Okay, I've already got a sine wave. See that there? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly turn this until I reach 26 volts. So on mine, I can see 26 volts is very small, but I'm going to show you what it looks like on the other AC voltage too. So I'm going to keep turning it up. We got a nice clean wave. Okay, and I think it says 21, 23, 24, 25, 27. Let's bring it back a little bit. I think this says 26.7. I'm good with that. 26.2. That's a clean wave. But look where my screwdriver's at, guys. Look, I barely turned it up. We're actually right around like 3 notches up. It's barely turned. So I was here and now I'm here. Very little, guys. Very little. Okay, so you may not have a multimeter. That's okay. I'm going to show you what it looks like with a voltage meter. Okay, so we'll do the same thing again real quick. I'm going to pause my song. Also, make sure you turn your volumes all the way up on your phone and on your controller. Make sure everything's up. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, you guys don't have this little graph bar thing. You guys have a voltage meter, the little squiggly line. So I'm going to go there. Okay, mine says DC. Okay, we're going to switch it. Whoops. We're going to switch that to AC voltage. We can figure out how to do it. Hold on. There it is. I'm on AC voltage. Okay, yours gonna have the same thing, AC voltage. Now watch what we're gonna do. We're gonna turn this number up. We're gonna do the same thing again. I'm gonna turn it all the way down. Okay, and I'm gonna show you how quick it grows. I know that does sound funny, but here we go. Okay, so we're playing again our voltage. We're just using a regular voltmeter to set this accordingly, and then I'll show you what it looks like on the multimeter so you can see what we're doing. So here we go. All right, we're playing our signal. Okay, we've got 10 volts. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and turn this up and see how it's going up. And look what I'm doing. Look how much I'm turning. I'm barely turning it, and I'm already up to 26, 27. All right, there we go. And now I'm at
29.
Yep, 20.
25.
Hold on. It's very sensitive. Okay, hold on. Okay, 26.93. Okay, 26.93. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm still playing the song all the way up, but I want to show you what it looks like on our voltmeter so you can see that we have a clean file. So it's still playing, 60 seconds. All right, what I'm going to do is all I'm going to do is just switch the setting real quick, and I'm going to go to where it shows the graph. All right, same thing we were at just a minute ago, clean wave file. Mine says exactly down here, what does it do down there? I think it says 25, 26.
25.8.
25.8. Again, guys, we're going to have a hard time. The way it detects on the voltmeter and the AC meter, they're going to be very close. You'll be fine. 25, 26, 27, somewhere around there. When you read AC voltage, the way we did it earlier, what happens is it does read a little bit higher. It's not going to be exactly as good as the actual oscilloscope, but it's going to get us darn close. So again, we hit play. AC, then we're going to turn DC voltage to AC voltage. Hold on. I forget how to do this thing. Sorry. Hold on, guys. There we go. AC voltage. Okay, we're going to hit play again. And we should be the same voltage we were at just a minute ago. There it goes, 26.7. Pretty damn close to what our oscilloscope was. Off by like 0.1. So anyway, I just showed you how to do it with AC. That's what you should be reading. Get about 26 volts, you'll be perfect. All right? Ride safe, ride loud. We'll see you guys. And now we're going to get next to the, we're going to finish buttoning everything up. And now we're going to get our speakers plugged in, and then we're going to be able to hear some sound. But you do this before you hit the speakers up, because that test tone is very loud. All right, thanks for watching. All right, so now we're going to get ready to set up our speakers to get ready for our pods. We've already got them wired up. I'll show you real quick what it looks like. So basically, we've got our wires connected to our speaker wires. We've already set our amplifier, okay? We haven't plugged them in yet. All right, we've got our wires connected for here. Typically, I use a blue wire for my positive. Same way over here, I still have this one marked as my right. We're going to plug everything into our amplifier, because once we put the speakers in, then we have to adjust the frequency. So what we're going to do right now is... I am so sorry about that, guys. I'm a real person. I do have allergies. All right, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to go over the speakers with you and show you what we have to do. Now, remember, I am doing this all by my hand. Okay, so let's go over some of the things that are in the package. This is a white capacitor for basically turning down your tweeter by -3. We don't want to use that. However, inside this bag is also a little piece of black strip. This is basically dum-dum, and what you're going to do is when you take your grills off, your rings here. See if I can pop them out with one hand. I'll show you. Sorry, guys. Okay, so when you take them out, you pop out your rings. Okay, hold on. All right, pop out your rings. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to wrap that dum-dum around these little tabs. Let's see if I can get you that little tab. See that little tab right there? You're going to wrap the dum-dum around that, so when you stick it inside your grill, here, it holds it in place. All right, so that's your grills. So let's set these two aside. We're not going to use them for right now. We're going to use them when we put the grills on. All right, so these are your crossovers, okay? This is going to allow us to cross over our tweeter on this particular mid-bass driver. These are basically able to be bi-amped, but we're not going to do that. Run everything through one amplifier. This is the reason we're not able to run 350 watts, because the way they figure that out is if you ran 200 to the mid-bass driver and 150 to the tweeter, you'd be good to go. But we're going to run 200 across the whole entire thing. We'll be fine. We're just going to make sure to use our little capacitors. And the way you do that is, again, you take your speakers out. Let me take these out and set them up here so I don't have to use one hand, so I don't drop them, and then I'll show you what we're going to do. Okay, so once we've got our speaker wires, our speakers flipped over, I like to keep them on the foam here, and what we're going to do is we're going to use our crossover. We talked about that earlier, okay? So on this side, you've got 4 terminals. You got a positive on this side and negative on this side. You got 4 terminals. This side right here will go to our speaker wires coming out of our pod, right there, and these two are coming from the mid-bass driver running to the tweeter. So the input goes to our input, which is right here. The output is going to our tweeters. Okay, make sure to pay attention to the gray and black wire. They actually flip them on this crossover, so make sure you're hooking the positive up to the positive and the negative up to the negative, and that's going to be how we're going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and set this other one up, and we're going to get ready to drop them in and do our tuning testing. So we're almost there. Also, you can zip tie these up. I've had people hot glue them. It doesn't hurt. A little zip tie doesn't hurt either if you can, run a zip tie all the way around the back of the magnet. Just be careful, because this hole that we're putting it in is not super big. So typically what I'll do is I'll basically just, I'll maybe hot glue it, or what I'll do is, because we're going to put a little bit of foam in there, we're going to put a little bit of cotton in there to kind of like make it sound bigger. We're going to do that. And this can't hang. It doesn't hurt anything, but securing stuff is always nice. Make sure these things snap in, and we're going to go ahead and get ready to drop them in the pod, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we get into some Dynamat. This is going to be what we fill in the holes on our pods for. So what I typically like to do is I'm going to send you a piece about this big. It should be enough. We're going to cut it down the middle, okay? We're going to cut it 3 ways, like this. This is going to allow us to cover up those holes that we have inside the pods. This stuff is really awesome, and it will be super sticky once the sun hits it. So cut it down the middle, cut it in 3s, and then that's going to should be what we need to fix these holes. And then you're going to use the back of a screwdriver, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. Okay, you can see we've got it all in there. We've covered up all our holes. I was able to cover up my little speaker hole. And basically what I usually like to do is to take the end of a screwdriver and just kind of run it along there, get it really along the edges. You're just kind of like, sticking it down real good. Once this stuff gets hot, it's going to be like glue. It's like tar. It's very hard to pull off. It's very messy. So just get it in there, cover up those nuts and bolts, and just try to get around the edges as much as you can. Work your way into the bolt. Sorry, get this off. you can kind of see what it looks like there. So it's all nice and tight now. These edges look real good. This will keep any water from coming in, really protect our speaker. You know, moisture's a weird thing, man. Sometimes it can find its way in the littlest hole. So this is just trying to protect everything else that we need to do. And now we're good to go. Okay, so we're gonna add some polyfill. The debate on this is kind of up in the air. I'll let you do your own research. The only reason I'm gonna throw polyfill in here is because I have a ton of it for when I build my speaker box, and as opposed to throwing it away, I'll just go ahead and use it on all my skis that I can. I'll be honest with you, I haven't noticed much difference between the sound. They say that it makes your speaker think it's in a bigger area, but we're not trying to run a bunch of bass anyway. But you know, I got some of it, so we'll do it. You know, the factory does it, so maybe we'll try to follow in their suit. I'm just gonna put a little bit in there. You don't have to have this, guys. I just happen to have tons of this. You know, don't let your wife cut you cutting up a pillow. You know, yeah, I won't be responsible for that. But like I said, just a little handful, shove it in there, just kind of like spread it around. This is supposedly supposed to soften it. There's so many debates about this. Again, I don't know. I did it because I have it, so not a big deal if you don't have it, guys. All right, there you go. Okay, so we've already put this in this one side, so you're going to get a couple of pages of this, so a little water going on it. You peel off the outside, you're going to put this in between the ring and the pod, and then you're going to put it between the speaker and the ring. So we'll show what it looks like on the speaker. It's easy to put on the speaker. So what I've done is I've already taken one and I've put it on there, so it fits on the inside. So don't try to stretch on the outside. It's going to be on the inside lip. It should fit pretty good. Okay, just extra protection, guys, extra protection. Now what you want to do is when you put your ring on, this is going to be the next step. So you're going to put your ring on. Before you mount this ring down, you're going to snap it in place. Okay, you're going to have somebody sit up on the ski, you or whoever's going to sit up on the ski, and you're going to get this adjusted. So what you're going to do is you're going to slowly turn it, okay, until the speaker is firing at your ear. So what I usually do is I get my wife to hop up there. The young lady who's getting this is about the same height as her, so we're going to go ahead and get her to mount it. Then what you're going to do, you want to make sure these big holes are up. Okay, that's going to allow your drill bit. You can use a screw. It doesn't have to be super long. I'm going to send you the screws, and we're going to run them in. Okay, and these here, your drill bit, you should have a little adapter on your drill bit, you know, like normal people have, and that way it'll look like this. So that way this will go down inside there. Okay, that's what we made that for. All right, then when you mount your speaker, remember your speaker has 4 holes too. So if you mount it perfectly straight like this, right, then the speaker may not fit because it may hit these holes. So sometimes we just have to cheat a little bit and just compromise a little bit, or turn your speaker in a little bit. So just keep that in mind when you're mounting these things down. Okay, so now I'm gonna get that newbie up there. We're gonna get these adjusted, and then we're gonna plug in our speaker. We're going to drop this in, and we're going to mount it down, and then we're going to get one step closer to hearing these bad boys.
Go.
So we're going to go ahead and get this thing set up. We didn't put any screws in yet, so first thing we're going to do is you kind of set the speaker to where it's kind of straight, and then I'm going to have her tell me which way I need to adjust it, left or right. It does make a difference, believe it or not. There's a huge difference in this. There's a difference of firing at your kneecap and firing at your ear. So we're going to go ahead and start turning this. She's going to tell me which way I need to go. So I'll first start this way and see what happens. And don't worry, we'll straighten up the speaker as we go around. And tell me, do I need to go the other way, or how are we looking this way?
Keep going the way.
This way? This way?
I think that's the way, over there.
That's it? Firing directly at your face?
Yes.
That's what we're talking about. So notice everything's going to be different. All these are always different, the way we mount them and the way people sit. So we're going to go with that. So our speaker's sitting flush. The good news is we can still drill in, and all of our holes are clear. So we're going to go ahead and mark that, and then we'll be good to go. We'll do this on one side, and then what you do is you do the other side. Try to remember where your hole is. You're going to get it as close as you can. It's really hard to get these things exactly perfect, but you could definitely do some measurements and stand up behind the ski and kind of look at it. But at least we know kind of where we're going to be at. All right, we're going to get these things mounted down. First, you pull your speaker out. I don't hook the speakers up, by the way, right now while we're turning it, because we don't want to wrap any wires up. So now I've got it mounted. I'm going to go ahead and get my 4 screw holes, put it in there, mount this down, and then we're going to mount the speaker down. That's it. Now that we've got them all straight, we're going to go ahead and drill them in. Guys, this is not try to hammer this screw between this plastic. This is tighten it down, get it snug. It's not going anywhere. We're not trying to hammer. We're drilling into plastic, guys. So you don't want to hammer and strip this thing out. I mean, if we do strip it out, it's not a big deal. We could probably just put a little bit of blue Loctite in there, but just try to get it as close, and then just use a hand screwdriver and hand tighten it. That way it's snug. They're not going to go anywhere. It's going to be fine. Just You don't want to hammer these things down. We're not trying to like rip it through. Usually what I do is I get it real close. My impact gun actually has a really cool feature on it that allows it, once it reaches tension, it actually slows it down. On this one here, it really works well too, so I usually use it quite often. So anyway, that's what I would suggest. But if not, just use a screwdriver. Once you drill it, if you want to pre-drill the holes, that makes life a little easier sometimes, and you know, it prevents any type of cracking that you may have. I've already pre-drilled my holes, so we're going to go ahead and put these in there, and we're going to slowly snug them down. So you roll up that little dum-dum, that little black stuff you saw in that plastic bag. I put it on there like little boogers, I guess. You're gonna put them on the little tabs. I'm gonna just line them up and put them right in here. Same way when you're putting down the speaker, make sure not to over tighten them. Get them close. If you pre-drill the holes, it makes life a little easier, and you just want to get them snug. This is not gonna come out. If you're worried about it, throw a little blue Loctite on there to hold it in place, but you'll be fine. Just, we're not trying to hammer these things down. Okay, so now we're gonna get ready to put our grill on. Remember that little black rubber stuff we had? So what I do is I roll it up in like a little thin booger, like this, make it thin, and then I usually stick it inside the holes where this is going to push into. I use a little booger hook, and I kind of just lay it in there, and I kind of just, you know, roll it. Or you use that little flathead screwdriver you used, and just push it down in there, so that way when we stick this grill, it's going to stick. Also remember, when you're using these screws to mount down your speakers, this is the factory screws that come with the speaker. This is not going to be hammer these things in, guys. If you want to pre-drill a hole, a small hole, that's perfect. You can put them in by hand, and that's what I suggest. That way it doesn't crack anything, doesn't break anything, and they'll be nice and snug. So we've got our speakers mounted all down. Everything looks good. Sometimes I don't mount all these the way down. I make sure everything's working, but we did test everything earlier. Just make sure your terminals are snapped on the back of your speakers nice and clean and good. They don't fall off. If your speaker's not working, you definitely want to check that. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and power it up. And what we want to do is we're not going to touch the sensitivity knobs. They're already set, but we are going to adjust our frequency knobs, and we're going to slide our high pass filters all the way over to the left. Okay. And it'll also say 2-channel on this one here, so we're going to slide everything to the left. So snap it to the left, snap it to the left. Now we're going to start it right around 12 o'clock. We're going to play some music as loud as we listen to, make sure everything's turned up, and we're going to adjust this knob, this frequency knob, between probably 1 and 3. It'll probably land up pretty much where it's at right there. I've done this quite a few times. So, but we're going to go ahead and do it just to make sure. These things are not subwoofers, guys. We don't want these things, you're running a lot of power. We don't want these things like jumping out. They need to be barely moving. They don't need to be like this. This is wrong. This is good. Very little. These are mid-range drivers or mid-bass drivers, whatever you want to call them. You know, everybody has a different name for them, but basically they're not subwoofers. So let's keep that in mind. So I'm going to go ahead and cue it up, get the music playing, adjust it, play a couple different songs you like to listen to. There's no right or wrong, but you definitely don't want this going past that 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. That'll be too much bass. I just know that already. You'll notice as we start turning it closer to the 3 o'clock, it's going to start clearing up a little bit. Yes, it's not going to be a full bass, but when we're doing 60, 70 miles an hour, we don't care about bass because we can't hear the bass anyway. So people that set these things full range, that's cool if you're posted up somewhere, if you want to hear it at like 30, 40 miles an hour. But our whole reason we're doing this is so we can hear it at top speeds. So we have to kind of like take a little bit, give a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pause the camera. I'm gonna set it up, and I'm gonna show you where I end up at because I got to play the music through my phone. Okay, it's also important to note when you turn this amplifier on, when you're ready to connect, you may hear a small hiss, like a tss. That's typically white noise. The reason why is we've got this amplifier cranked up, guys. So it's got a lot of power running through it. Typically, the way you used to get rid of that back in the day is just turn your amp down a smidge or put a cap on there to try to get rid of that. But we're only going to notice it while it's sitting there with dead air. So this is totally normal. Once you turn up to about 1 or 2 clicks, it's going to disappear, or it's going to be blended into the song. You'll never hear it. It's not going to hurt anything. We still got clean power. It's just, remember, you have a lot of power. So it's picking up literally everything. Basically, it's sensitivity, exactly what it means. We turn the sensitivity up, it means it's more sensitive. So it picks up anything from your jet ski or anything like that. So don't worry. You're not going to have, it's just going to be a little bit of white noise. Just keep that in mind. Okay, so we ended up setting up our amplifier. We got everything plugged in, and my EQs ended up right around that between 1 and 2 o'clock. Now, this is actually funny what happened. I actually hooked everything up. I had my positive, my negative. What happened was it sounded like a little thin to me. It sounded weird, like it didn't have a lot of fullness, I guess. So one of my speakers was actually out of phase, and this happened because I didn't hook up the positive negative properly inside the pod. And the way you can test that is if you've ever used a 9-volt battery, you can basically just test the wires and make sure that the speaker pops out and not in. So actually it did happen to me, and I had to use the 9-volt battery. I was able to fix it, but when I first heard it, it didn't sound right. It sounded kind of like the signals were canceling out. It didn't sound very like full. It's hard to get a super full sound because we are pulling out some of the bass, but you could tell sometimes if it's out of phase if you've done this a lot. So you know, just make sure I even made the mistake. So I was like, I guess because I was working upside down because I had to do the ski on the trailer. But anyway, what I was gonna tell you is you can always test your phase. Make sure you have the positive negative hooked up properly by just hooking the positive up to this side and the negative up to that side, and the speaker should pop out. And then it's going to go back and then pop out. You know, when you touch it, it's going to hold it outwards. Okay. And then when you let go of it, it's going to go back in. You could test it the other way and you'll watch the speaker go inwards. So it's a really quick, simple test to make sure you're in phase. Make sure they all pop out. That's what we're looking for. So now that we've got the amp and everything tuned up, we're going to put our waterproof cover back on. We're going to zip tie up all of these. And again, we're going to show you how we mount this one when we get to it. You want to zip tie this up, put everything down, make sure everything's clean. On newer GPs, they'll have a whole plastic piece that comes across here like this. And you can actually mount the amp on the back side of that with some Velcro, maybe a couple of screws, some stainless steel screws. For this one here, we're just going to use our little bit, our little right angle bit that we love so much, and we're going to drill a couple screws down in to hold it in place. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. All right, so a little tech tip, by the way. If you wanted to, now would be a cool time to put in a charger. If you wanted to run one of these type of chargers, they're pretty inexpensive. You can get them off Amazon. They don't know that I'm going to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in. I had an extra one here, and it's very easy to get these glove boxes out. All you do is you lift up the top, you push on the bottom, and the whole thing comes out, and we're just going to drill a hole, mount it. You don't want to mount the button until you put it in because you won't be able to get it back in there. But we're going to go ahead and knock this out for them. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tap into these wires here. I'm actually going to tap it on the front side of my fuse here. I'll tap these in. I'll solder in a couple of wires, put some heat shrink on there, and then that way it'll be good. These things have their own little fuses on the inside, so you don't have to worry about that. Actually, I think it's on this one here. It might even be up. There's a little fuse right there. So we're going to trim these off and solder them in just if you want to. You know, we're already there. Pretty simple. These takes very little current, so they're not going to affect our amplifier. We're going to go with that. Okay. On this one here, you're able to get to these two screws without having to use a right angle bit. Okay, there's two amp screws in there. Just drill them down. I move this up a little bit so the front seat doesn't hit it. And now we're going to clean all these wires up, and I'm going to get them all zip tied up, and it's going to look nice and clean in here. And then that's going to be, I put one here and one here. It's sturdy. It's not going anywhere. You'll be good to go. Typically what I do is I kind of push it back to push against the glove box. Sweet. It's all zip tied up. Everything's clean. If we ever have to access the fuse, it's right here. I just run all my wires. These are like what I like, little service loops. So when I cut these zip ties, I can pull the amp out. I don't like to make these wires so short that I have to like work everything in here. You know, there's nothing wrong with having a little extra wire. Everything's zip tied up here, going back through here. We put our zip tie back on. Now you guys are going to make sure everything works again. Make sure you didn't unplug anything when you were like, you know, make sure none of these came unplugged when you were doing your work. Typically you can throw a little dielectric grease in these if you're worried about it. Sometimes we just cut them off and tape them up, but I'm gonna leave them on there just in case they decide to do an upgrade here soon. Anyway, that's pretty much where we're at. Now I'm gonna put the side panel back on, and that's pretty much it. Okay guys, so thank you for watching the video. I know it's very long, but you should be good now. You know, I did one side of the ski, you could do the other side. It doesn't matter if you put the amp on the other side. You're just gonna have to make sure you kind of run everything through here. Everything's done now, everything's mounted down, everything still works. Congratulations, you now have some badass sound on your ski. Ride safe, ride loud. If you have any questions after watching this video, please reach out to me. We'll get taken care of. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.